Welcome back, focused learners, to Privacy Trainer. I'm your host, and I am absolutely thrilled to have you with us today. Our mission here is to make the world's privacy laws accessible, understandable, and, dare I say, actually fascinating by breaking them down using our custom AI-generated visuals. Today, we're diving straight into an explainer entirely focused on GDPR Article 96. Now, it's a pretty short provision, but one that quietly sustains massive international data flows. It's basically the ultimate legacy bridge, and really understanding it is absolutely crucial for anyone dealing with cross-border data transfers. Here is our game plan for today's explainer. We'll start with the pre-GDPR time capsule, then we'll decode Article 96, explore some real-world applications, review a regulatory case study, jump into a professional knowledge check, and finally wrap up with our key takeaways. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the pre-GDPR time capsule. I want you to picture a scenario for a second. It's May 25th, 2018. The GDPR officially becomes enforceable. What if, at the exact stroke of midnight, the GDPR instantly shattered every single pre-existing international treaty that involved data sharing? We're talking about mutual legal assistance treaties, tax sharing agreements, and international law enforcement pacts that member states had relied on for decades. It would have been absolute global gridlock. I mean, total chaos, right? Well, the drafters of the GDPR knew they couldn't just break international law overnight. And that is the exact problem Article 96 solves. It prevents this gridlock by acting as a protective time capsule. Moving right along to Section 2, decoding Article 96. So the text here essentially establishes what lawyers call a grandfather clause. It states that international agreements involving data transfers concluded by member states prior to May 24, 2016, and which complied with prior union law, remain in force until amended, replaced, or revoked. Basically, if a country signed a valid treaty under the old rules, it actually survives the GDPR. But, and this is a massive but, only under some incredibly strict, really fragile conditions. It's all about the timeline here, which completely dictates whether an agreement is saved or scrapped. Looking at how this played out, you've got the old 1995 directive. Then, right there in the middle is our magic cutoff date, May 24th, 2016. That was the date the GDPR officially entered into force, even though it wasn't actually enforced until 2 years later on May 25th, 2018. So, if a member state concluded a treaty before that May 24, 2016 cutoff, Article 96 acts as a bridge, safely carrying that old treaty right into the modern enforcement era. Okay, let's see what this looks like in practice. Section 3, real-world applications. Let's say you're a tech company transferring data to a foreign government, and you rely on a member state's mutual legal assistance treaty signed back in 2012. That's a totally valid use case because it's a state-level agreement. But what if you're a small business? You might assume your private business-to-business vendor contract from 2015 is grandfathered in. Well, that is a massive misconception. Article 96 applies to member state agreements, not private corporate contracts. And finally, let's look at a common compliance failure. Say two countries decide to update or amend their grandfathered 2014 treaty today. Bam, the time capsule breaks. The moment it's amended, it instantly loses that Article 96 protection and has to become fully GDPR compliant. Next up, Section 4, regulators and case study. Let's walk through a real-world scenario. Imagine a European public hospital is sharing sensitive patient data with an overseas research institute. Their primary business challenge is maintaining this vital medical research. The privacy issue, of course, is that this involves cross-border transfers of highly sensitive health data. So the big GDPR question is, can they use a bilateral treaty signed by their national government back in 2010 as the legal basis for the transfer? Regulators who are highly sensitive to international transfers, especially after strict rulings like Schrems I KC 362/14, they're going to do a strict step-by-step analysis here. They will ask, was it concluded by a member state? Yes. Was it before May 24, 2016? Yes. Has it been amended since? No. And finally, did it comply with the old 1995 directive back when it was actually signed? If the answer to all of these is a solid yes, the hospital can lawfully proceed. All right, time to test what we've covered. Section 5, professional knowledge check. Here is our first scenario. A member state signed a data sharing treaty with a third country on June 1, 2016. Does Article 96 protect this agreement? Think back to the timeline we just discussed. Is it A, B, C, or D? And the answer is C. No, it completely misses the cutoff. Remember, the hard deadline is May 24, 2016. even though the GDPR wasn't enforced until 2018, literally anything signed after May 24, 2016 does not get grandfathered in, and it has to fully comply with the standard GDPR Chapter V transfer rules. Let's try another one. Imagine a public health authority relies on a 2014 treaty to share data overseas, but the treaty was officially amended in 2020. What is the GDPR status of this agreement today? If you guessed B, you hit the nail on the head. It loses Article 96 protection. The grandfather clause is incredibly fragile, guys. The text clearly states agreements remain in force only until amended, replaced, or revoked. Simply touching or updating that old treaty immediately shatters the time capsule, triggering modern compliance requirements. Moving to Scenario 3. What if a 2010 international agreement violated the old Directive 95/46/EC at the time it was signed? How does Article 96 treat it today? The correct answer is C. It does not qualify. Article 96 is definitely not a get-out-of-jail-free card for historically bad agreements. For the legacy bridge to work at all, the treaty must have been lawful under the old rules. If it violated EU law back then, it certainly isn't protected now. All right, final scenario. During an investigation, a tech company claims Article 96 protects their private vendor contract from 2015. Is this correct? The answer is C. Now, it only covers member state agreements. Private companies absolutely cannot use Article 96 to shield their old corporate contracts from modern data transfer mechanisms. They are going to need standard contractual clauses or another valid mechanism under Chapter 5, for sure. Let's wrap things up. Section 6. Takeaways and final thoughts. Here are your key takeaways. 1. Article 96 is a very strict grandfather clause designed to prevent international legal chaos. 2. The absolutely vital cutoff date is May 24, 2016. 3. It only ever applies to member state international agreements, never private B2B contracts. 4. The agreement must have been lawful under pre-GDPR union law. And 5. It is highly fragile. The protection completely vanishes the very moment the agreement is amended, replaced, or revoked. If you enjoy these GDPR explainers and would like to support the channel, consider becoming a member of Privacy Trainer. Memberships help us continue creating free privacy, security, AI, and compliance education for learners around the world. Our mission is to make high-quality privacy knowledge accessible to everyone and use AI to scale education to everyone. And hey, if you're looking for more structured privacy, security, or AI training, including guided learning paths, workshops, practice questions, exam and certification preparation resources, you can also explore privacyunit.com. Privacy Trainer focuses on making knowledge freely available on YouTube, while privacyunit.com is designed for learners who prefer a more structured learning experience. Finally, disclaimer. This content is provided for educational purposes only and does not constitute as legal advice. Content might include mistakes. Before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. Next time you hear about a massive cross-border data exchange between governments, ask yourself, are they actually relying on the modern GDPR, or are they secretly riding the legacy bridge of an invisible treaty from 2012? Honestly, the answer might surprise you. Thank you so much for learning with us today. Stay focused, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.